This is Greg Pass with the Americans in Wartime Experience. Today's date is March the 5th, 2022. And I have the pleasure to sit down right now with PFC Shay Archer. We're at Arlington National Cemetery. Shay, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Can you tell us your full name and where you were born?
Yes, Shay Archer from Ogallala, Nebraska.
And you have any military veterans in your family?
I do not, actually, first generation.
What was your motivation to enlist in the U.S. Army?
It's faith-based. It's definitely faith-based. I felt it was a good way to, kind of serve in a Christian capacity. I thought that was really important to me, and so I thought it was just a good way to do it.
So you enlisted at near your hometown, I assume?
I did,
and
yeah.
They ship you off to where?
So I actually was living in Wyoming at the time with my folks during my enlistment, and then signed up as a military police officer and went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri right after that.
Is that one station unit training?
It is.
And what's the total amount of training that goes in from basic and the AIT?
So I want to say it's around 6-7 months, maybe even a little longer. Obviously basic the same for everyone, and then AIT was a lot of law, a lot of time in the books. So it's a lot different than what I'm doing now. But
is this your first permanent duty assignment?
it is, yeah, straight to Fort Myer. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So from what I recall, they took myself and a few of the other MPs aside and essentially just said, hey, good news, there's some spots open at Fort Myer, which none of us had heard of because it's so small. And they're like, there's pretty much opportunities there that you won't have anywhere else in the Army. And so we were like, okay, well, we don't really know a whole lot about it, but here we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back up a little bit. MP, why did you select MP as your MOS?
So I had some interest in law enforcement, obviously still do, and I was kind of torn between civilian sector or going into the military, and since I was also wanting to get a degree, I thought military would be a good option to kind of start some funds, get the GI Bill, and then pursue whatever it may be afterwards as well.
Prior to your assignment to Virginia, had you ever been to ANC prior to that?
No, so it was a first being in the DC area, Arlington. Actually, prior to me coming down here, I visited with my family and we got to check out the tomb, and it was quite literally a few weeks later that I came and volunteered. So.
Mm-hmm. What were your first observations when you first laid eyes on one of the sentinels out front?
It was definitely surreal because we showed up probably 10-15 minutes before the guard change, and it was kind of just mesmerizing watching them walk back and forth, and the stature and everything like that was just it was something that I had never seen before, so it was really interesting.
So walk us through the application process and the testing and the training that you have to go to earn the right to guard the tomb.
So it begins with the tryout process. So you have your physical tryout, and then past that you have an interview process. If they see that you are a good fit for the tomb, then you come down for the training cycle. Personally, I was a part of a cycle of 3 soldiers, another MP as well, he's actually my team leader. And so we trained together, and once you pass that training phase and test through that training phase, then I was assigned to a relief where that training continues until it's time to take your badge test, which is when you earn the title Sentinel.
Have you achieved that yet?
Not yet. So I'm working towards test 3 of 4. So full row it's called, and then after that it'll be badge test.
And how long does it take on average for somebody to be able to earn the badge?
So obviously some soldiers move significantly faster than others, but I would say a good estimate, maybe 6 to 8 months, around that range, yeah, to at least be looking at badge test.
And how long have you been a guard here at the tomb?
Coming on almost 7-8 months now, yeah.
So tell us about the first time you had to go out there and do your thing. Did you have butterflies? What was going on?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, actually. Yeah, I was definitely shaken, but a big portion of it is just keeping that composure. So, behind this stoic face. So I was definitely freaking out, but just kind of that repetition, I was able to get over that. I'd say it was a few weeks before I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing. Now it's just getting better at it. But it was definitely had my heart pounding for sure the first few times.
I've noticed that a lot of the guards use the term earning a walk, not being assigned to the duty. Explain the difference and why it is you guys look at it like you earned it.
Right, so the actual process of going outside when you're doing a walk, at least in training, is 15 minutes prior to the walk. They'll have trainees step into a knowledge corner, it's called, and they'll be quizzed on the 17 pages of knowledge they've been memorizing, and if they earn if they get the correct answer, however many that might be, then they're sent on a 3-minute go, 3 minutes to change, and then they're up and getting ready to go out the door. So the whole time during that training process, that's what they'll be doing. These trainees are earning the walks outside.
Are there days that you might be, I'm sorry, what do you call it? Is it quarters? Is that what you?
Quarters.
Are there days in quarters that you might not end up doing a walk?
Trying to think if there would be an instance. So we have members of the platoon who are part of headquarters. So they may be doing more administrative work, work on the computer or whatever it may be, still conducting the mission and helping out with the mission, but they might not be going outside for that day to either walk, change, either one.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So you're a young guy, 21, 20? 20 years old. What's it like to be a 20-year-old guy in the middle of something as historically significant as Arlington National Cemetery, and then on top of that, guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier?
I will admit, it's even still, it's difficult to fully grasp. I've heard from a few people that you really don't kind of understand, the gravity of it until you are gone, and you're like, wow, I did this, I did that. And so I try and kind of, backtrack and be like, it's not just the day to day, it's not just the in and out, it's, it is important to be here. And so there's definitely times when I catch myself and I'm like, wow, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Wreath laying ceremonies when people are, moved to tears or, whatever it may be, those emotional aspects are really kind of what ground me at least and bring me back to that. Yeah.
What do you think this place means to the American people?
For military families, especially, it is a place of humble reverence. It may sound cliche, but I really do think it is, because folks like that may have heard the stories from, their family members that others don't get to hear. And so they come here and they see how powerful it is and what it represents. And perhaps even for many, they kind of understand the hurt that can bring for family members. And so the fact that we have the opportunity to guard that and to protect that, their emotion, I think that a lot of people understand that. Millions of people understand that, and I think it's really significant, certainly.
So you have a chance to interact with the public, not when you're on the mat, obviously, but other opportunities to interact with the public. What kind of feedback do you normally get from the public about what goes on here at ANC?
So currently I'm having the opportunity to train on a brief, so sharing the history of the unknowns. And so I'm grabbing people outside or asking them, hey, do you want to come down to quarters? Or I'll meet them up in the brief room above us and I'll just share with them the history. A lot of them don't know the kind of the in-depth history, which is totally understandable. I didn't either. and a lot of them are very fascinated by, obviously the history, but why we conduct the mission, why being that continuous funeral service. So a lot of people, they're kind of on the edge of their seat and really listening, and that's neat to hear and neat to be able to share with people.
Well, you guys had a big anniversary last year in November. Were you part of that?
I was, yeah, I had the opportunity
Tell me
to.
about the planning that went into that and the changes you guys had to put into place to accommodate the public.
Sure, so beforehand, there was the mat that needed to be moved, so we rolled it up and just replaced it in front of the tomb. And we had to change the sequence of the post ones at least, so it's not the full ceremonial change that most people see. Changed it just a little bit, just the steps we had to take. So that was kind of the beforehand planning. And then kind of a brief on what to maybe expect, because it was a first for all of us, obviously. So, this is what you could see, this is what you should do, that kind of thing beforehand, before the day came.
So the mat was moved toward the mall. As I understand, that changes the way you carry the rifle and everything else. Is that right?
That is correct.
How does that play?
So the rifle is always carried in a manner that is not bearing arms towards the unknown. So instead of when, let's say, my right side of my body is usually facing the tomb, I'll have it on my left shoulder. But it was vice versa. So right side was facing the tomb, and then it's flip-flopped. So the manner of how you changed arms so that you were never bearing arms towards the unknowns was a little bit different. It was essentially just reversed. Yeah.
So the public was allowed to come up and actually lay flowers. Is that right?
That is, yeah.
And did that run smooth?
It did. It was really well done. There was a lot of military members and civilian faculty that were able to come in and assist with that, and it was really well done, yeah.
I understand the Crow-Nation was here. What's the significance of that?
Come again?
The Crow-Nation?
The Crow-Nation. So my relief wasn't working that day. I want to say it was the relief day before. Had the chance to see that and hear the music they were playing, which from what I was told and actually saw, I was on the news as well, was really fascinating. So, yeah.
What are some of your fondest memories of that ceremony, your observations?
The biggest were the gestures that a lot of people gave. There were people who would stop before putting the flower down and they would salute you, or they would be crying and just give a heart with their hands, small things like that. And it happened periodically through the day, and I think that really added up. And being able to see the impact of the fact, being able to see the impact that it had on people, it was directed towards us, but I could tell that they weren't there for us, clearly, and never are. They were thankful for the fact that we were conducting that mission. And it was that instant connection when you saw those people. It was fantastic, honestly.
Later this afternoon or next week or a month from now, you might have a conversation with a busload of kids that might not be that much younger than you on a high school field trip. And they're going to be in awe, of course, of what's going on here. And one of those guys might say, hey, how do I get to be in a position like you're in? What advice would you give them?
Totally. Well, if they're already military affiliated, great. If not, it really is just that first step, making that leap, signing that contract. And, once you're integrated into the force, then contacting the people you need to say, hey, I'm interested in going to Fort Myer. I want to go to Fort Myer. Great. Once you're there, then you have the opportunity to contact the soldiers here. Hey, I want to volunteer. I want to be a part of this, and I want to guard the unknowns. So it is kind of as straightforward as that. Just putting out the fact that you want to be here and just taking the leap, taking the steps that need to be done. Yeah.
You're going to be given a copy of this video in a few weeks, and then you'll also be given instructions on how you can submit the video to the Library of Congress for the Veterans History Project in Washington, D.C. They keep videos and audio tapes and written accounts from soldiers all the way dating, I believe, even past World War I. Your video would be stored there for hundreds of years, and there's an opportunity for one of your great-great-great-grandkids to see that. What would you want them to know about your service to your country?
I would want them to know that it was done for them and for their family and for their friends, that the future of the U.S. and the freedoms we hold and the things we hold dear in our heart, that's why I served, and I would want them to be able to see that looking back.
Well said.
Thank you.
Any other observations or any statements that you wanted to put before we stop the tape about your service here? Do you have anything else?
It has been a once in a lifetime opportunity, certainly, and to be a part of that rose-laying ceremony was something, like I said, I think I will grasp in full when my time here is done. It was fantastic then, and I'm sure reflecting on it too will be just awesome.
On behalf of the Americans in Wartime Experience, I thank you for spending time with us today, and thank you for your service.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure to meet you, Shay.
Likewise.